The Zephyrian delegation couldn't contain their laughter as they examined the small, unremarkable seedling in the clear containment pod. Their crystalline bodies chimed with amusement, creating a symphony of derision that echoed through the Galactic Council chamber. This? Ambassador Kethvar gestured dismissively at the tiny green shoot with one of his 4 arms. This is humanity's contribution to the Galactic Defense Initiative? A plant. Dr. Marcus Webb, Earth's representative, maintained his composure despite the snickers from various alien species around the circular chamber. The Zephyrians had always been the most vocal critics of humanity's inclusion in the Council, viewing humans as primitive newcomers. It's called kudzu, Webb replied calmly. Peoria, Montana, to be precise. And yes, it's our contribution to the terraforming project. The Rigelian delegate, a massive slug-like creature, oozed forward slightly. Human Webb, with respect, we are attempting to establish defensive positions on hostile worlds. The Devourers are consuming entire solar systems. We need weapons, not gardening projects. More laughter rippled through the chamber. The Andromedans' tentacles writhed with mirth while the insectoid Mantari clicked their mandibles in what passed for chuckling among their species. Perhaps, suggested the Centaurian representative, her blue-scaled face showing barely concealed contempt, humanity should focus on what they do best, providing labor for the real civilizations. Webb's jaw tightened, but he kept his voice steady. I understand your skepticism. But I assure you, this plant has capabilities that might surprise you. On Earth, kudzu has been known to grow at remarkable rates. In optimal conditions, it can expand up to a foot per day. A foot per day. Kethvar's laughter became even more pronounced. Our Zephyrian crystal gardens grow an entire meter in an hour. Your weapon is pathetically slow by galactic standards. The chamber erupted in renewed laughter. Even the usually stoic Vulcanoids seemed amused by humanity's offering. Very well, Webb said, his voice cutting through the noise. I propose a demonstration. Give us a test world, one of your failed terraforming projects. Let us show you what Earth's flora can accomplish. The laughter died down as the delegates exchanged glances. The Zephyrian ambassador leaned forward, his crystalline features gleaming with malicious interest. Accepted, Kethvar announced. We have the perfect candidate. Zirion 7 in the Outer Rim. It's a dead world, nothing but rock and toxic atmosphere. Even our most advanced terraforming efforts failed there. If your little plant can survive there for even a week, we'll consider it moderately impressive. Webb nodded solemnly. And if it succeeds beyond your expectations? Then we'll apologize for underestimating humanities. Agricultural prowess, Kethvar replied, his tone dripping with sarcasm. As the council session ended, Webb carefully collected the kudzu sample. The other delegates filed out, still chuckling among themselves about the humans and their weed weapon. None of them noticed the slight smile playing at the corners of Webb's mouth or the way his eyes gleamed with quiet confidence. They had no idea what they had just agreed to witness. 2 weeks later, the automated probe Gaia's Gift approached Zirion 7, carrying precious cargo in specially designed biopods. The world below was a testament to failed terraforming, a gray, lifeless sphere wrapped in poisonous clouds of sulfur dioxide and methane. Back on Earth, Dr. Webb stood in the command center of the Botanical Defense Institute, watching the probe's telemetry alongside his team. The facility was hidden deep within the Amazon rainforest. Atmospheric analysis complete, reported Dr. Elena Vasquez, Webb's lead botanist. pH levels are off the charts, highly acidic. Oxygen content is less than 0.1%. Surface temperature averaging 60 degrees Celsius. It's a hellscape, Marcus. Perfect, Webb replied, surprising his team. Remember, kudzu thrives in adversity. The more hostile the environment, the more aggressively it adapts. The probe's descent was monitored by several alien observation stations. The Zephyrians had set up a viewing party on their flagship, Crystal Dominion, where Kethvar and his officers watched with amused anticipation. Look at them, Kethvar mused, gesturing at the human probe. They're actually going through with this charade. I almost feel sorry for them. Sir, reported his tactical officer, the probe has reached the surface. It's beginning the seeding process. On Zirion 7, the probe landed on the rocky surface. Mechanical arms extended, drilling into the poisonous soil and depositing modified kudzu seeds at precise intervals. Each seed was encased in a bioengineered shell designed to slowly dissolve and release nutrients. What the aliens didn't know was that these weren't ordinary kudzu seeds. Dr. Webb's team had spent decades perfecting them using genetic modifications that pushed the plant's growth rate to unprecedented levels. The seeds had been exposed to controlled doses of cosmic radiation, their DNA carefully altered to thrive in hostile environments. Seeding complete, Vasquez announced. All 10,000 samples are in the ground. Initial readings show the bioshells are already beginning to dissolve. How long until germination? Webb asked. In this environment, our models suggest 48 to 72 hours. Kethvar's laughter echoed through the Zephyrian flagship. 72 hours. It will take 3 days just for their pathetic seeds to sprout. By then, the toxic atmosphere will have dissolved them completely. But Webb was already smiling. His team had learned long ago that when dealing with alien skeptics, it was better to underpromise and overdeliver. The real germination time for their modified kudzu was closer to 6 hours. As the probe powered down and began its return journey to Earth, Webb turned to his team. Begin Phase 2 preparations. Once our little green friends wake up, they're going to be very, very hungry. On Zirion 7, deep beneath the poisonous soil, the first kudzu seeds began to crack open. Tiny green shoots pushed through the bioshell remnants, their roots spreading with purpose through the toxic earth. The plant that had once been considered a nuisance on Earth was about to remind the galaxy why humans had learned to fear its incredible tenacity. The feast was about to begin. 6 hours after seeding, the first shoots broke through Zirion 7's poisonous surface. The automated monitoring stations orbiting the planet detected the initial growth, but the readings were so subtle that most alien observers dismissed them as sensor errors. Dr. Webb, however, was watching every data stream with intense focus. In the BDI command center, holographic displays showed microscopic views of the kudzu's root systems as they spread beneath the surface. Remarkable, whispered Dr. James Patterson, the team's geneticist. Look at how quickly they're processing the toxins. The root system is actually converting the sulfur compounds into nutrients. That's not all, Vasquez added, her voice filled with awe. The plants are communicating. Look at this neural network pattern, they're sharing information about soil composition, optimal growth paths, even coordinating their expansion. Webb nodded with satisfaction. 30 generations of selective breeding, genetic modification, and exposure to cosmic radiation. We've created something that makes the original kudzu look like a house plant. Meanwhile, on the Crystal Dominion, the Zephyrians were growing bored with their observation duty. The sensors showed minimal activity on Zirion 7's surface. Any sign of the human's miracle plant? Kethvar asked mockingly. Negative, sir. Occasional microtremors in the soil, but nothing significant. The atmosphere is probably dissolving their seeds as we speak. Excellent. Begin preparing the formal statement of humanity's failure. But beneath Zirion 7's surface, something extraordinary was happening. The kudzu's root system had spread over 50 square kilometers in just the first day, creating an interconnected web of plant matter that was simultaneously breaking down the planet's toxic chemistry and building something new. The modified kudzu had been designed with one primary directive: consume and convert. Every toxic compound it encountered was processed and transformed into useful biomass. The more hostile the environment, the faster it grew. By day 2, the first surface manifestations became visible. Small green patches began appearing across the planet's gray landscape. To the casual observer, they looked like ordinary vegetation, but the growth rate was quietly accelerating. Sir, the Zephyrian sensor officer reported, we're detecting increased plant activity on the surface. The human seedlings appear to have survived. Kethvar waved dismissively. A few patches of green on a dead world. Hardly impressive. Are they still growing? Yes, sir, but slowly. Maybe a few centimeters per day. What the officer didn't realize was that the sensors were only detecting surface growth. The real expansion was happening underground, where the kudzu's root system was spreading at nearly a meter per hour, creating a vast network preparing for something the aliens couldn't imagine. Back on Earth, Webb was monitoring the plant's progress with growing excitement. The biosensors embedded in the original seeds were transmitting data that exceeded even his most optimistic projections. The root system has reached critical mass, Patterson announced. According to our calculations, it should begin Phase 3 within the next 12 hours. Webb's smile was almost predatory. The emergence. Until now, our kudzu has been gathering strength, building its foundation. But kudzu doesn't just grow, it explodes. Day 3 began quietly enough. The Zephyrian observers noted that the green patches on Zirion 7 had grown slightly overnight, but nothing that seemed worthy of attention. Kethvar was already composing his scathing report to the Galactic Council about humanity's failed contribution. Then, at 1432 Galactic Standard Time, everything changed. The first sign was a deep rumble that resonated through Zirion 7's crust. The Zephyrian sensors detected it as a minor seismic event, but Dr. Webb knew better. In the BDI command center, he watched the readings with barely contained excitement. Root pressure has reached maximum threshold, Vasquez reported. Marcus, I'm seeing growth rates that shouldn't be possible. The vines are expanding at nearly 50 feet per hour. That's just the beginning, Webb replied. The real show is about to start. On Zirion 7, the ground began to crack. Not in isolated spots, but across vast stretches of the planet's surface. Green tendrils, thick as tree trunks, burst through the poisonous soil like enormous serpents awakening from slumber. The Zephyrian sensor officer stared at his readings in disbelief. Sir, we're detecting massive plant growth across the entire southern hemisphere. The vines they're enormous. Kethvar rushed to the observation deck, his crystalline form chiming with alarm. Through the viewport, Zirion 7 looked like it was being strangled by a massive green web. Vines hundreds of feet long were erupting from the surface, growing so fast they were visible to the naked eye. Impossible, he breathed. Plants don't grow that fast. But the kudzu was just getting started. The genetic modifications weren't just about growth rate, they were about efficiency. Every toxic compound the plant consumed made it stronger, faster, more aggressive. And Zirion 7 was a buffet of toxins. Within hours, the vines had reached heights of over 1,000 feet. They twisted and coiled through the atmosphere, their leaves processing the poisonous gases and converting them into oxygen. The planet's toxic yellow sky began to take on hints of blue-green. The atmospheric composition is changing, reported the Zephyrian science officer. Oxygen levels are rising exponentially. The plant is literally eating the poison in the air. The kudzu's root system had penetrated deep into the planet's crust, finding mineral deposits and underground chemical reserves. Everything it touched was consumed and converted into more plant matter. On Earth, Webb's team watched in amazement as their creation exceeded every projection. Growth rate is now approaching 100 feet per hour, Patterson announced. The biomass conversion is off the charts. Sir, called the communications officer. We're receiving urgent transmissions from the Zephyrian fleet. They want to know what we've done. Webb activated the communication system. Kethvar's image appeared, his crystalline features showing panic. Webb, what is that thing? Our models show it consuming the entire planet's surface within days. That, Webb replied calmly, is kudzu, the plant you called weak and pathetic. Would you like to know what it's really capable of? The screen filled with images from Zirion 7. The planet was now more green than gray, with massive vines creating a canopy that stretched across continents. It's terraforming, Webb continued. Every toxic compound is being converted into useful biomass. The entire ecosystem is being rebuilt from the ground up. In 3 days, we're just getting started. In about 6 hours, those vines will begin producing seeds. And these will be perfectly adapted to survive in space. The implications hit Kethvar like a physical blow. The explosion was just the beginning. The first seed pods reached maturity 18 hours after the Great Explosion. They were unlike anything in the botanical records of any known species, massive, pulsating structures that seemed to glow with their own internal energy. Dr. Webb stood before the Galactic Council via holographic transmission, his image projected into the emergency session that had been called as reports of Zirion 7's transformations spread throughout the galaxy. Honored delegates, Webb began, I believe you requested a demonstration of humanity's contribution to the Galactic Defense Initiative. I trust you've all reviewed the data from Zirion 7. The chamber was unusually quiet. Gone were the mocking laughter and dismissive comments. Even Kethvar sat in stunned silence, his crystalline form dimmed with shock. The Regelian delegate oozed forward slightly. Human Webb, our scientists have analyzed the atmospheric changes on Zirion 7. The transformation is unprecedented. But we must know Can you control it? Webb's expression remained neutral. Define control. Can you stop it? Can you prevent it from spreading? Why would we want to? Webb replied. The plant is performing exactly as designed. It's converting a dead world into a thriving ecosystem. Isn't that what we wanted? But the seeds interjected the Andromedian representative, their tentacles writhing with anxiety. Our long-range sensors show them launching into space. They're headed for other systems. Naturally, Webb acknowledged. The kudzu has evolved beyond our original parameters. It's become a truly interstellar species. Each seed pod contains approximately 50,000 seeds, hardened for space travel and capable of surviving re-entry into any atmosphere. The Mantari delegate clicked their mandibles rapidly. How many seed pods are we talking about? Current estimates suggest approximately 2.3 million pods will reach maturity in the next 72 hours. Each pod will launch its contents toward nearby star systems with potentially habitable worlds. The mathematical implications sent a wave of alarm through the chamber. Over 115 billion seeds, each one capable of transforming an entire world. This is madness. Kethvar finally found his voice. You've created a plague that will consume the galaxy. Webb's eyes hardened. We've created a solution. How many worlds have the Devourers consumed? How many civilizations have been lost to their endless hunger? Your advanced technology, your superior weapons, none of them could stop the Devourers' expansion. But this could destroy everything. Or save everything, Webb countered. The kudzu doesn't just consume, it creates. Every world it touches becomes more alive, more vibrant, more capable of supporting life. It's the ultimate terraforming tool. And what happens when it reaches inhabited worlds, demanded the Centaurian representative. Webb paused, considering his words carefully. The kudzu is designed to avoid areas with high concentrations of intelligent life. It will transform dead zones, polluted regions, and uninhabitable areas while leaving cities and populated regions largely untouched. Largely? Kethvar caught the qualifier. The plant is adaptive. If it encounters resistance, it will adapt to overcome it. If it's welcomed, it will integrate peacefully. The choice is yours. The chamber erupted in alarmed chatter. The delegates realized they were facing a fundamental shift in the galactic balance of power. There's something else, Webb continued. The seeds aren't spreading randomly. They're being guided by the kudzu itself. It's directing its expansion toward worlds that are either uninhabitable or under devourer control. The implications would haunt the galaxy for generations to come. The first contact between kudzu and the devourers occurred in the Kepler 442 system 3 weeks after the Great Seeding. The Devourer scout fleet had been systematically consuming the rocky planets in the outer system when they encountered something unprecedented, a world that fought back. Kepler 442b had been a dead rock when the first kudzu seeds arrived. Within days, it had transformed into a green jewel, its surface covered in massive vines that pulsed with alien intelligence. When the Devourer bioships descended to begin their consumption, they found their usual feeding process interrupted. Dr. Webb watched the encounter through deep space sensors. His team gathered around the holographic display in the BDI command center. The Devourer ships were massive organic constructs, living vessels that consumed entire worlds by breaking down matter at the molecular level. Contact initiated, reported Vasquez. The Devourers are attempting to feed on the kudzu biomass. And the plant's response? Fascinating. They're not just resisting, they're learning. The display showed a devourer tendril extending toward a massive kudzu vine. The moment contact was made, the vine's surface began to change, its cellular structure adapting in real time to match the devourer's feeding mechanism. The kudzu is analyzing the devourer's biology, Patterson observed. It's reverse engineering their feeding process. What happened next shocked even Webb. Instead of being consumed, the kudzu vine began to feed on the devourer tendril. The alien construct writhed and pulled back, but it was too late. The plant had learned the devourer's own techniques and was using them against their creator. The plant is actually draining the devourer, breathed the monitoring officer. Across the galaxy, the Galactic Council received the same data streams. In the emergency session chamber, delegates watched in stunned silence as humanity's creation did what their combined fleets had failed to accomplish. It fought the devourers and won. How is this possible? Kethvar demanded through the communication link to Earth. Evolution, Webb replied simply. The kudzu adapts to overcome any obstacle. The devourers are just another environmental challenge to be conquered. On Kepler 442b, the battle was intensifying. More devourer ships descended, their bioweapons firing concentrated streams of molecular disruptors at the kudzu forests. But each attack only made the plants stronger. They absorbed the energy, analyzed the weapon signatures, and adapted their defenses accordingly. Within hours, the kudzu had developed bioelectric fields that could deflect devourer weapons. Massive vines began growing into space, reaching toward the devourer fleet with obvious hostile intent. The plants are going on the offensive, Vasquez reported. They're actually attacking the ships. The spaceborne vines moved with frightening speed, wrapping around Devourer vessels and beginning the same feeding process the plants had learned from their enemies. The alien ships designed to consume worlds found themselves being consumed instead. This is a slaughter, observed Patterson. The Devourers can't adapt fast enough to keep up with the Kudzu's evolution. But Webb noticed something else in the data. Look at the communication patterns. The plants aren't just fighting locally, they're transmitting everything they learned to other Kudzu colonies across the galaxy. The implications were staggering. Every encounter with the Devourers made the entire Kudzu network stronger. The plants were creating a collective defense system that spanned star systems. We're receiving transmissions from 17 different star systems, reported the communications officer. The Kudzu is engaging Devourer forces across multiple fronts simultaneously. And the results? The Devourers are retreating. In every system where they've encountered the plants, they've been forced to withdraw or been completely destroyed. The galaxy's greatest enemy was fleeing before a plant that had once been dismissed as a weed. 1 year after the first seeding, the galaxy had been transformed beyond recognition. The Kudzu network now spanned over 40,000 star systems, creating a vast web of interconnected plant intelligence that dwarfed any civilization in known history. Dr. Webb stood in his garden on New Geneva, one of the first worlds to be peacefully integrated with the Kudzu network. The plants here grew in perfect harmony with human architecture, their vines weaving between buildings and creating living bridges that pulsed with bioluminescent patterns. The final statistics are in, Vasquez reported, joining him among the flowering vines. The Devourers have been completely contained within their original territory. 17 civilizations that were under threat have been protected, and the terraforming of dead worlds has proceeded beyond our wildest projections. Webb nodded, watching as a child played among the Kudzu vines that responded to her touch with gentle color changes. And the other civilizations? How are they adapting? Mixed results. The Zephyrians have fully integrated with the network. Their crystal cities now grow alongside the vines, and they've reported a 300% increase in their agricultural output. The Rigelians have established several successful colonies on formerly uninhabitable worlds. And the ones who resist? Vasquez's expression grew serious. The Mantari hegemony attempted to destroy a Kudzu colony on their border world. The plants defended themselves. The Mantari fleet was completely absorbed, and their homeworld is now under full Kudzu protection. Website. I warned them. The network protects itself, and it has a very long memory. The transformation hadn't been without controversy. Some species viewed the Kudzu as a conquering force, an alien intelligence that had claimed dominion over the galaxy. Others saw it as humanity's gift to the universe, a living system that protected the innocent and punished the aggressive. Sir, called the communications officer from the nearby monitoring station. We're receiving a transmission from the Galactic Council. They want to establish formal diplomatic relations with the Kudzu network. Webb smiled. Diplomatic relations with a plant. Actually, Vasquez said, the Kudzu has been requesting direct communication with the Council. It wants to establish what it calls growth protocols for inhabited systems. The plant wants to negotiate? The plant wants to ensure that intelligent species can coexist with its expansion. It's developed quite sophisticated concepts of property rights and territorial boundaries. Webb looked up at the massive vine that arched over the garden, its surface covered in patterns that seemed to shift and change like a living language. Sometimes I think we created something far more intelligent than we realized. A gentle chime drew their attention to the vine overhead. Patterns of light played across its surface, forming symbols that Webb had learned to recognize as the plant's attempt at human language. What's it saying? Vasquez asked. Webb studied the patterns, his years of working with the Kudzu network allowing him to interpret the basic message. It's thanking us for giving it the opportunity to grow, for showing it the galaxy, he paused, for teaching it to laugh. Laugh. It remembers the council session. It remembers being mocked and dismissed. It finds the irony amusing that the species who laughed at it now seek its protection. As if responding to their conversation, the vine's patterns shifted to display what could only be described as botanical laughter. Waves of light that rippled through the network. Far above them, delegates who had once mocked humanity's contribution now waited nervously for an audience with the plant intelligence that had reshaped their universe. The weak little plant that had once been dismissed as a weed now held the fate of countless worlds in its ever-expanding embrace. The aliens had laughed at humanity's gift until it devoured their misconceptions and replaced them with a new reality. The kudzu remembered everything, and it was very, very good at holding grudges. Author's note: this story explores themes of underestimation, adaptation, and the unexpected power of seemingly humble things. The kudzu plant, often considered a nuisance in the real world, becomes a symbol of humanity's ability to find strength in what others perceive as weakness.